Alright, so we're out here today. We're going to be showing you guys some different ways that we set up ground blinds. On our first spot here, we're going to be brushing in a pop-up blind in this spot by these two cedars right here. We like to brush ours in a lot because we feel that the deer get used to it a lot quicker the more you brush it in. And it never hurts to wash up real well and make sure your clothes is clean before you come out to do something like this to help minimize the scent as much as possible. We're also going to be demonstrating a natural ground blind as well as some other pop-up blind scenarios. So we're going to get started with this one right here. All right, we got the pop-up blind all set up. So now comes the important part, getting it all brushed in. So we're gonna get to brushing it in now. So another thing that we recommend in these pop-up blinds, especially if you're gonna have a decent amount of weight on top of the blind, it's good to have a stick to kind of help keep the blind up, because if you get some rain or some snow, it might cave in the top of the blind, and then it could really mess up or break some of your parts on it. So what I did is I took a 1/2-inch drill bit and I drilled a hole in the top of this stick after I measured how tall I needed it to be, because if you see here at the top of the blind, I got this little nut here. So my stick, the hole that I drilled in my stick will fit right on top of that nut so that it won't slide off, and it's good to go, and now it won't cave in on us. Alright, so here's a little look from the inside. You can kind of get an idea of where the blind is. Got a little open area out there. So we got this brushed in. I think it came out really good. I think the deer will get used to it pretty quick. Alright, so we're at our next spot here. We're going to be making a natural ground blind right behind this log you see here. In front of us over here, we've got a big bedding area that the deer like to run. There's a big trail that runs along the side of that bedding area, and then there's another trail that kind of cuts towards the bedding area over there. So this is a really good spot. So the first thing we did when we came in here is we determined where the big trails were, and then we determined that we were going to be hunting this with a south wind because the bedding area is south of us. So we picked this spot because it'll be perfect for a south wind, and we have a very little chance of the deer busting us while we're hunting it. We're going to get started on working on that. So we just got the blind set up. We got quite a few logs stacked on top of each other here, and I raked out all the leaves from the bottom of the blind, and we stacked up a bunch of logs on this side and a bunch of logs on the front so that you have some stability if you're shooting with a crossbow or a gun, and mainly to have the cover. I left this here as kind of a shield so that if the deer are coming in on one side or the other and they're kind of seeing me, I can take it and move it a little bit so that it could help block me a little bit more. We left these bushes back here, and there's some stuff behind me, and that really helps as a nice backdrop to kind of make it blend in even more. If you have stuff behind you, it really helps. This whole blind took us 5 to 10 minutes to make, so it's really handy, really easy. If you're moving the bigger logs, you probably need 2 people, but you can still get it done by yourself. We use these a lot when we're hunting a new area that we're not quite sure of and we haven't quite figured out yet, because it's a lot easier to make one of these than to go through all the hassle to put up a tree stand and tote it in and all that. And then we can figure out if we're in the right spot and if we need to move it to make it better, or if we just still want to hunt out the ground blind, we don't have to put up a tree stand if the ground blind's working well enough. So Dad's on the main trail over there with the camera right now, and I'm standing up in the ground blind. As you can see, it's about 25-30 yards from the main trail here. You can kind of get an idea of what the ground blind looks like from the distance where the deer would be looking from. All right, so here's the view from the inside. As you can see, got the dirt floor here. I'm sitting on a turkey chair, so I'm pretty low to the ground. This spot, I might be able to use a little bit taller chair, but it works pretty good. So here's the view from inside. And as you can see, you can move this around however you need it. All right, now we're gonna move on to the next blind. So whenever you're picking a spot for your tree stand, ground blind, or any spot that you're gonna be hunting, first thing you need to decide is which way your wind's gonna be blowing while you're hunting it. And the second thing you need to figure out is how you're gonna get into that spot. In this case, we've got a creek here that's gonna give us great access, and that's where our scent's gonna be blowing down. We have hunted this spot before, and typically the deer don't cross this creek in this area. So with that being said, that's gonna take a northwest wind, so that's what we're gonna hunt this spot with, a northwest wind. And that'll take our scent right down where we walk in from, right down this creek. So we're gonna get to building this ground blind and show you guys how it comes out. All right, so we just got wrapped up building this ground blind. This is gonna be a morning set. We'll be catching them deer coming off the crop fields to our north in the mornings, coming back in here to bed. We'll be coming up this creek right here with the northwest wind, with our scent blowing right down that creek where we came in from. We like to use these ground blinds in areas where either we don't have a tree to put a stand in, or new areas that we don't wanna have to haul in a tree stand to hunt it just to see if it's good. We can build a quick ground blind, and then if the spot's good enough, we can come back and put it in a tree stand. Once we figure out where the deer are coming through, we can zero in where we need our tree stand. So when you build one of these natural ground blinds, if you brush them in right and you have a nice backdrop, you can get away with a lot, as long as you're not right on top of the deer trails and the deer aren't passing downwind. And of course, you want to be sitting down low with just your eyes and your head poking out, so that the deer see as little as possible. And of course, if you have to stand up to make the shot, you'll have to adjust for that. But for the most part, we've had very good luck with the deer not seeing us in these natural ground blinds if they're brushed in correctly. At this particular spot, we've got two big trails converging at 25 to 30 yards out in front of us. So as that particular deer shooter is gonna be coming through, I'm gonna be reading his body language so that I can be ready for the shot and be anticipating when I'm gonna be able to draw my bow back so that he's not looking my way and all that. As long as you're careful, you can get away with a lot more than you would think in these natural ground blinds. We've noticed that the deer hardly pay any attention to them whatsoever if they're brushed in correctly. So we're gonna be showing you some more setups, so stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna be putting up a pop-up blind right here. We're gonna be hunting these deer coming out of this bottom, going up to our food plot here for an evening hunt. We got a couple big trails here in front of us that the deer use to go up to this food plot, so it should be a good spot. All right, so we just got wrapped up with this one. We didn't have quite as much vegetation as we would like to brush this one in, so we're gonna have to add to it just a little bit. This setup works a lot better than just popping the ground blind up in an open area. The deer will get used to this a lot quicker and easier than just a pop-up blind set out in the open, because it looks a lot more natural. It doesn't take that long to do, and it'll make your spot that much better and make it last that much longer. All right, so stay tuned. We're gonna wrap this one up and get out of here. So that wraps it up for this video on ground blinds. Hopefully you guys got some ideas and tips on how you can utilize ground blinds to make your hunts better. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for all of our future videos coming out on tips and tactics about deer hunting that make us successful out in the field.